ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you must decide, do I live for the approval of people, or do I live for the fulfillment of purpose? Too many of us are trapped in the cycle of explaining, justifying, and defending every move we make. Every decision you take, somebody demands a reason. Every boundary you set, somebody wants an explanation. But let me tell you today, the need to explain is the need for permission. And destiny does not wait for permission. When you explain yourself too much, you give away power. Silence confuses critics and strengthens conviction. Sometimes the greatest answer is to say nothing at all and let your life be the response. You are not a prisoner of other people's opinions. You were not designed to fit into everyone's understanding. Some people will never get you because they're not assigned to you. Stop trying to make them understand your journey. Walk away without warning. Your purpose is too valuable to be wasted in endless conversations with those who have no intention of supporting you. Explanation invites debate. Debate invites doubt. Doubt delays destiny. Protect your purpose. Protect your peace. When you stop explaining, your actions become your testimony. Your consistency, your fruit, your results, these will speak far louder than your words. People may not understand your silence, but they cannot deny your results. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. There is dignity in walking away. There is honor in refusing to be dragged into unnecessary conversations. Walking away without warning is not weakness, it is wisdom. Explanations drain your emotional energy. They pull you into cycles of frustration. When you stop explaining, you preserve your energy for what truly matters. Your growth, your assignment, your vision. When you walk away without a word, you communicate strength. You show others that your life is not up for negotiation. People respect boundaries they cannot break. Respect is not demanded, it is commanded by your discipline. Sometimes God removes you from conversations, rooms, or relationships, not because you owe an explanation, but because He is shifting you into alignment. Walking away creates space for new doors to open. Don't explain, just move. My friend, remember this. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone deserves the privilege of your explanation. When you know who you are and where you are going, you don't beg to be understood. So the next time they demand an explanation, smile and walk away. Not because you are arrogant, but because you are aligned. Not because you are rude, but because you are rooted. Not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Stop explaining yourself. Walk away without warning. And let your life, your fruit, and your destiny speak louder than words ever could. The power of silence is one of the greatest strengths you can ever carry in life. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the language of wisdom, the shield of the mature, and the secret weapon of the strong. When you master silence, you master control. Not over others, but over yourself. Silence disciplines your emotions, it guards your energy, and it confuses your enemies. You see, silence does what explanations cannot do. When you try to explain yourself, you invite argument. When you remain silent, you leave no room for debate. Explanations can be twisted, misunderstood, or rejected, but silence cannot be manipulated. It simply stands as it is. Some people expect your reaction. They feed on your words. They want to drag you into endless justification. But when you remain silent, you deny them the power to control your spirit. There is a time to speak, but there's also a time when silence carries more authority than any words. Silence says, I don't need your approval to be secure. Silence says, I don't argue with what is beneath me. Silence says, I trust that the truth will reveal itself without my defense. When you learn the discipline of silence, you begin to operate at a higher level of strength because your value is no longer tied to convincing people. Silence protects your vision. When you are quiet, people don't know your next move, and that becomes your advantage. Destiny requires discretion, and not everyone deserves to know the details of your journey. The seed grows underground in silence before it is seen above the soil. In the same way, your greatest progress often happens in the quiet seasons where no explanations are given, yet everything is aligning. The power of a silence is a power of peace. It keeps your heart from unnecessary wars. It shields your mind from wasted energy. It gives you the ability to walk away without warning, knowing that you don't have to justify every step. The loudest evidence of your decisions will always be the fruit they produce, not the explanations you give. Stop seeking approval. Because the moment you live for the applause of people, you become a slave to their opinions. Approval is a moving target. Today they cheer you, tomorrow they criticize you, and if your identity depends on their reaction, you will never know peace. You cannot fulfill purpose while trying to be understood by everyone, because some people will never see your vision, not because it is wrong, but because it was not given to them. What God places in your heart does not need the stamp of human validation to be real. When you chase approval, you start to compromise. You water down your convictions so others won't feel uncomfortable. You delay your progress because you are waiting for someone to say, yes, you are doing the right thing. But approval seeking is a trap. It conditions you to doubt yourself every time someone disagrees with you. The truth is, not everyone is meant to agree with you because not everyone is assigned to your journey. The voices that try to keep you small are often the ones threatened by your growth. Stop explaining, stop justifying, stop begging for people to understand. You don't need them to sign off on your dream. You don't need them to endorse your decision to protect your peace. Approval will never be enough because people change, but purpose does not. When you break free from the need to be accepted, you rise into a place of clarity and freedom. That is where strength is born. The moment you realize that your value is not measured by applause, but by alignment with destiny. Discernment of energy is the ability to recognize what drains you and what builds you, who pushes you forward and who quietly pulls you back. Not everyone who smiles at you carries good intentions, and not every hand that reaches for you is meant to hold you up. Energy does not lie. People may say the right words, but their presence, their actions, and their spirit will always reveal the truth. If you lack discernment, you will give access to those who don't deserve it, and you will spend your strength trying to explain yourself to hearts that were never open in the first place. Every conversation you engage in, every environment you step into is either adding to your peace or subtracting from it. Discernment teaches you to recognize when the atmosphere is wrong, when the words being spoken are not for your growth, and when the company you keep is not aligned with your future. Some people carry heaviness, some carry confusion, some carry jealousy, and if you are not careful, you will absorb what they release. That is why you must guard your energy as you guard your purpose, because wasted energy means delayed destiny. When you discern energy, you stop explaining yourself where understanding is impossible. You recognize that some people don't lack information, they lack intention. They don't want clarity, they want control. They don't want to support you, they want to distract you. The wisdom of discernment allows you to walk away in silence, not out of pride, but out of protection, because you know your peace is too precious. Your focus is too critical, and your assignment is too urgent to be drained by the wrong connections. Boundaries protect purpose because purpose cannot survive without structure. A vision without boundaries will be invaded, interrupted, and eventually destroyed. When you allow everyone access to your time, your thoughts, and your emotions, you leave your destiny unguarded. Purpose requires separation. It requires the courage to say no without explanation, the strength to close doors that do not lead to your future, and the discipline to distance yourself from anything that threatens your focus. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates to control what comes in. Not everyone has the right to speak into your life. Not every opportunity deserves your yes, and not every relationship is healthy for your assignment. Without boundaries, you will find yourself spending energy convincing people who have no interest in your growth when that energy should be invested in building what you were called to do. Boundaries remind you that your time is valuable. Your peace is sacred. And your calling is too costly to be compromised by constant explanations. When you set boundaries, you may be misunderstood, criticized, or even rejected, but that is the price of clarity. The people who belong in your life will respect your limits, and those who don't respect them were never meant to stay. Boundaries give you freedom. Freedom to grow, to focus, to hear clearly, and to move forward without being entangled by distractions. Protecting your purpose means you don't allow everything in, and you don't explain why you don't. You simply guard what is precious and walk with the confidence that your destiny is worth defending. Explanations can trap you, because the moment you begin defending yourself, you hand over your power to someone else's judgment. Every time you try to prove why you made a decision, you invite people to dissect it, question it, and debate it. And once you enter that cycle, you are no longer walking in conviction, you are walking in negotiation. Explanations can sound harmless, but they can subtly chain you to the opinions of those who were never meant to direct your life. When you explain too much, you appear unsure of yourself. You may know exactly why you made a choice, but the need to justify it can make you look like you are still seeking permission. Explanations often don't bring clarity, they bring criticism. They don't bring support, they bring suspicion. And in trying to make others understand, you end up doubting yourself, second-guessing your path, and even delaying steps you should have already taken. There are moments when explanation is wisdom, but there are also moments when explanation is a trap. Some people don't ask for your reasoning because they want to understand you. They ask because they want to find a way to control you. They don't want your truth, they want leverage. And when you fall into the habit of always explaining, you train people to expect your defense before you move forward. That robs you of the freedom to make decisions boldly without apology. The truth is, not everyone deserves to know your why. Your purpose is too sacred to be placed on trial before people who are not walking in your shoes. Explanations can box you in, but silence keeps you free. When you stop explaining, you stop inviting arguments. When you stop explaining, you stop seeking approval. When you stop explaining, you take your power back and give yourself permission to walk in your destiny without delay. Action over words is the proof that cannot be argued. You can explain your dreams for hours. You can defend your choices with all the reasoning in the world, but nothing silences doubt more effectively than results. Words can be dismissed, ignored, or twisted, but fruit cannot be denied. When you choose action over words, you let your life become the evidence. You stop wasting time convincing people, and you start investing energy into producing something that cannot debate. Talk will always be cheaper than action because words do not require sacrifice, but action demands discipline, focus, and consistency. People may question your silence. They may misunderstand your boundaries, but when the fruit of your labor shows up, when the evidence of your decisions becomes visible, the same voices that question you will be forced to respect you. Action makes explanations unnecessary. It speaks in a language louder than debate and clearer than defense. Action over words also protects you from the exhaustion of trying to please. When you focus on results, you stop chasing approval. You stop explaining your process, and you allow your outcomes to carry the weight of your argument. The strength of your life is not in how well you defend yourself, but in how faithfully you build, create, and produce. Let your actions be your answer. Let your consistency be your defense. Let your growth be the loudest response to every doubt and every critic. Knowing when to walk away is one of the greatest marks of wisdom. It takes strength to fight, but it takes greater strength to step back and say, this no longer serves my growth. Not every conversation deserves your voice. Not every battle deserves your effort, and not every relationship deserves your presence. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to leave without defending, without announcing, and without warning. Walking away does not mean you are weak. It means you are wise enough to preserve your energy for what truly matters. There are seasons when staying connected becomes dangerous to your destiny. If the environment is draining your peace, if the conversation is pulling you into arguments that go nowhere, if the relationship keeps demanding explanations that strip you of confidence, then it is time to walk away. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need approval to guard your purpose. Walking away at the right time is not loss. It is alignment. Walking away also teaches others how to treat you. When you stay in places where you are constantly misunderstood, constantly defending yourself, you train people to believe they can question your every move. But when you leave quietly, without explanation, you set a standard. You show them that your life is not up for debate. Your choices are not up for negotiation. And your destiny is not up for discussion. The wisdom is in knowing the difference between quitting and releasing. Quitting is giving up on yourself, but releasing is letting go of what no longer belongs in your journey. Walking away clears space for the right voices, the right doors, and the right opportunities to enter. It is not the end. It is the beginning of something greater. Preserving emotional energy is one of the most important disciplines you can learn if you want to live with clarity and strength. Every day, you are given a limited supply of focus, peace, and emotional capacity. If you spend it all trying to convince people, defending yourself against criticism, or carrying battles that are not yours, you will find yourself drained and unable to pour into what truly matters. Your emotional energy is fuel for your purpose, wasted on explanations, and you will have nothing left for creation, growth, and vision. When you learn to preserve your emotional energy, you stop letting every opinion disturb your spirit. You no longer respond to every accusation, every misunderstanding, every attempt to pull you into drama. You realize that peace is priceless. And sometimes silence is the best way to protect it. Not every attack deserves an answer, and not every question deserves your response. The moment you recognize this, you start living lighter, stronger, and freer. Preserving your emotional energy also means refusing to fight battles that don't add to your destiny. Some arguments are designed to distract you. Some conversations are traps meant to weaken you. The more you engage, the more you lose yourself in the noise. But when you preserve your emotional energy, you choose peace over pettiness, purpose over distraction, and progress over unnecessary conflict. This discipline makes you unshakable. People may wonder why you don't react, why you don't explain, why you don't fight back. The answer is simple. You would rather invest it in building your vision than spend it in defending your decisions. True strength is not always in how loud you speak, but in how well you guard your peace. Respect is not something you demand with words. It is something you command with presence, discipline, and consistency. You can argue all day long for people to value you. You can explain why your choices are valid. You can beg for them to see your worth. But none of that will produce real respect. Respect is earned not by what you say, but by what you show. When you choose silence over arguments, boundaries over compromise, and purpose over approval, you communicate a strength that no words can replicate. People watch how you carry yourself more than they listen to what you say. If you constantly explain yourself, you appear desperate for understanding, and desperation weakens authority. But when you stand firm in your decisions without defending them, you give off an unspoken message. I know who I am, and I don't need your validation to continue. That message alone commands more respect than any speech could ever produce. Walking away quietly from what disrespects you teaches others that your time is valuable, your peace is sacred, and your life is not up for debate. People may not agree with you, but they will learn to respect the way you protect yourself. True respect is not built in conversations of explanation. It is built in the quiet strength of discipline. And here's the truth. When you stop chasing respect with words, you begin to receive it through results. The fruit of your actions, the consistency of your life, and the evidence of your growth will speak louder than any defense you could ever give. Words may win arguments, but results earn honor. Respect is never about what you say. It is always about what you prove by how you live. Divine alignment is the assurance that when you stop explaining yourself and start trusting the direction of your spirit, life begins to position you exactly where you belong. There are moments when you cannot see the full picture, yet something within tells you it is time to move, to leave, to close the door without apology. That inner prompting is not confusion, it is guidance. When you obey it, you step into a rhythm where doors open without effort, opportunities appear without force, and the right people arrive without explanation. Alignment is not about striving. It is about flowing with purpose. Sometimes the reason you feel heavy is because you are out of alignment, carrying conversations, relationships, and environments that no longer match your destiny. Walking away, even in silence, can be the act that brings you back into position. The moment you release what was never meant to stay, space is created for what was always meant to come. This is why you do not need to explain your decisions to everyone, because alignment is not a matter of their understanding, it is a matter of your obedience. Divine alignment means that even rejection works in your favor. The doors that close are not failures, they are redirections. The people who misunderstand you are not your loss, they are part of the pruning. The silence you keep, the boundaries you set, the explanations you withhold, these are not acts of arrogance, they are steps of trust. You trust that your life is guided, that your purpose is secure, and that every move, even the quiet ones, are positioning you closer to what you were created to do. And when you live in alignment, you no longer fear who leaves, who misunderstands, or who disapproves. You know that what belongs will remain, what is needed will arrive, and what is divine will never require endless explanation. Alignment is freedom. Alignment is freedom. Alignment is peace. Alignment is the place where you stop begging to be understood and start walking with the confidence that you are exactly where you need to be. My friend, life is too short and purpose is too precious to waste on endless explanations. The people who are meant to see it will not require debate. They will meet you in alignment. The people who are meant to understand you will not require debate. The people who are meant to open who you were. The people who are meant to view you. The people who are meant to see it. So choose silence over arguments, action over words, peace over drama, and wisdom over approval. Set boundaries that guard your purpose. Walk away from anything that drains your energy. Refuse to be trapped by explanations, and let your results become your testimony. Remember this: you were not born to be understood by everyone. You were born to fulfill destiny. And destiny does not wait for permission. It does not ask for approval. It does not live in explanation. It lives in bold decisions, unshakable peace, and the courage to walk away when necessary. So stop explaining yourself. Walk away without warning. Let your silence speak. Let your actions prove. And let your life declare the greatness that words will never capture.